Welcome back to another week of Beyond the Headlines. I'm Dave Rishi, news web editor for blackburnnews.com. This week, the CAO for Chatham-Kent has joined me, Don Shropshire. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure, Dave.
Now, one of the questions that I'd really like to talk to you about is, right now in Chatham-Kent, Council, Mayor Randy Hope, they're facing a barrage of criticism. The OHL leak, turbines being built too close to the airport, the Capitol Theatre is always a hot topic. How much of that falls into your lap? Do you feel that same criticism?
We get to share a fair bit of that same information, good or bad, and I think for a lot of the things you've just raised, there's a lot of questions on people's minds, so hopefully by coming to events like this, we have a chance to share some information with folks and answer the questions.
Does it bother you when you go on Facebook or Twitter and see some of the things people are saying?
It doesn't bother me at all when people actually ask direct questions or even take on administration or council for something that they don't agree with. That's part of the process, and I think that's great to have people that are engaged in the discussion. I think where I feel it's unfair sometimes is where people are immediately going on the attack mode without actually taking some time to understand the issue. And I think that's part of our responsibility to share the information so we get an informed debate.
What do you think about some of the comments? Do you think that there is a lot of misinformation out there, or people drawing their own conclusions? Do you think these comments are based on good information?
It depends on the issue. I wouldn't make a blanket statement. For a lot of it, I think people actually have information and they're engaging in the debate. And I think part of what we tried to do over the last couple of years through some of the social media is to have more of an open dialogue. A good example of that is when we had our budget debates, where we were able to use social media to post a lot of the information directly online. So in previous years, we've had people make very concerned statements about taxes going up and so on, and they were asking very detailed questions. Well, when they actually have the full budget ahead of them and they can actually look online and they can drill down line by line and find out exactly where we're spending the money, a lot of those questions disappear. So I think the more we can be open with people and communicate, the fairer the questions are going to be. So that's in everybody's best interest.
When it comes to municipal spending, I think the big thing that everybody likes to jump to is municipal salaries. Mm-hmm. And I guess, do you want to defend that? Are people making appropriate wages here in Chatham-Kent for the public sector?
Well, if you can, first of all, we have a really good wage and benefits package. When I look at some of the other folks in Chatham-Kent, and especially those that have gone through some really tough times, if you lost your job, I can see people looking at municipal salaries and thinking, wow, these guys are on easy street. I will defend it in as much as saying that the staff I've worked with so far over the past 4 years, they work hard, they're dedicated public servants, and they do deserve a fair working wage. I think the challenge we're going to have is as we continue to go through difficult economic times, the salaries and benefits of this public sector wages have to be kept in line with what the public or the private sector can afford to pay. So I think that's really the balance. I think for a lot of years, public sector was below private sector. Last couple of years, I think they've actually outstripped it, and I think that's a fair comment for people, and I think that's where we actually are open to criticism. So we have to make sure that we're maintaining levels of wages and benefits that are appropriate for the marketplace.
When you look at what happened a few months ago with the closed session leak, how frustrating was that for you?
Well, it is frustrating, and I make no bones about that. I think we have been challenged in all levels of government to be as completely transparent as we can, and I think the taxpayer deserves that. But there are a few instances. If you have a legal situation or a human resources issue, or for example, we're thinking of a land purchase, and by releasing information too early in public, you might actually inflate the price, and then the taxpayer has a negative hit on their pocketbook. Well, you'd want to protect for those sort of situations. So we will have a very limited number of things that go into closed council, and it's frustrating if something else would be leaked in that regard, because we only take things there that need to be kept in confidence, and as soon as possible we will release information and we'll try and share that with people.
And when we come back to the issue of the turbines that were built too close, there's a lot of questions as to how that happened. One of the questions locally is, how did the building permits get granted for that? Have you looked into that?
Well, I'll give you some instances where the building code, which the chief building official and their staff work under, they basically deal with the quality of the structure, what the engineering is behind the structure. Is it safe in and of itself? there's nothing that that person has to give them authority to enforce federal legislation or provincial legislation. That's, I should say in this case it's federal, so we're not delegated that authority. Okay. So, you know, we don't think we've done anything wrong. We think we've actually been upfront. Is with respect to the turbines, all of those restrictions were registered on title. So you'd expect when someone was going in to do a construction permit or whatever, they have an obligation to look at the property deed and the title and look and see if there's any restrictions. So
you've been doing this job for just over a year now, a year and a few months. Your predecessor, Rob Browning, actually cited one of his reasons for leaving was all the negativity that was surrounding his position. Can we expect that, or do you think you can handle it?
Well, to be fair to Rob, he did handle it. He did a great job. I'm a huge fan of Rob Browning's, and I think he laid a foundation for the 3 years that he was here that we're still benefiting from. So in terms of dealing with the things, he dealt with it, and he was able to flourish for that time. Rob's reasons for leaving are his own. I'm really enjoying the job. There are daily challenges with the job, but for the most part, we've got a community that really cares. We've got people working both in the private sector and the public sector and the voluntary sector for that matter to try and work together to make a better Chatham-Kent. And whether it's some of the issues you've talked about today, those are the challenges that make the job rather exciting. If it was boring, I wouldn't be enjoying the job. So I'm enjoying it. I expect to stick around.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Don.
Thanks, Dave.
And thank you all for watching once again. This is Beyond the Headlines, and I'm Dave Rishi.